You just spent 3 hours doing a perfect manual J load calculations for a 1950s colonial. Your software says the home needs about 42,000 BTUs of heat. The existing oversized furnace has been keeping this family comfortable for 15 years. 80,000 BTUs. So, which number do you trust? This is the part of load calculations nobody talks about in training classes. The textbook tells you how to calculate theoretical heat load, but the real world is messy. You're dealing with old houses that were built before building codes existed. You've got insulation that settled 40 years ago. You've got air leaks you can't see. And you've got customers who've been living in these homes just fine with equipment that's supposedly 3 times bigger than what they need. Today, I'm going to show you how to bridge the gap between what the software says and what actually works in the real world. Because if you don't understand this, you're either going to undersize systems and create callbacks, or oversell equipment you don't need and lose jobs to cheaper competitors. Hi, I'm Chris Morin with HVAC Pro Blog. I've been teaching ACA Manual J to contractors across New England for years now. And the number one question I get is always some version of this. Chris, I did everything by the book. I measured the walls, I counted the windows, I entered the data perfectly. But my calculation came out way lower than what's already in the house. And I know if I install what Manual J says, the customer's gonna freeze. That's a legitimate concern. And the answer isn't to throw out load calculations. The answer is to understand the difference between theoretical design conditions and actual operating conditions in existing homes. Let's start with what Manual J is actually designed to do. It calculates the amount of heating and cooling your home needs at design conditions. For heating in Massachusetts, design conditions are typically around 5 to 9 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the coldest temperature we design for. Not the coldest it ever gets, but the temperature that represents the coldest conditions about 99% of the time. For cooling, design condition is usually around 86 to 88 degrees. Manual J tells you how much equipment capacity you need to maintain 70 degrees inside when it's 5 degrees outside. Or 75 degrees inside when it's 88 degrees outside. That's the theory. Here's the reality. Most existing homes have conditions that don't match what you're entering into the software. The software asks you to select insulation values. You pick R13 for the walls because that's what the building code calls for when the house was built in 1978. But you know what? There's a good chance that insulation has settled, gotten wet, been chewed and collapsed by rodents, or just degraded over time. The actual R value might be closer to R8 or R9, but you can't know that without tearing open walls. So, you make an educated guess based on the information that you have. The same thing with air leakage or infiltration. Manual J asks you to estimate how tight or loose the house is. You've got categories like tight, average, and loose. You walk through the house, you look at the windows, you see if there's weather stripping, you check around plumbing and electrical outlets, and you make a judgment call. But here's the thing. Most older homes in New England are leakier than people think. That beautiful 1920s colonial with the original windows, it's losing conditioned air like a colander. But unless you do a blower door test, you're guessing. And most residential jobs don't include blower door tests because customers don't want to pay for them, and almost all HVAC contractors don't own one. This is where experience becomes critical. You need to develop a feel for what different types of homes actually need based on site surveys and years of seeing what works and what doesn't. Let me give you a real example. I was working with a contractor on a house in Concord, Mass, and it was built in 1965. It was Cape Cod style, 1,800 square feet. The Manual J came back at about 38,000 BTUs for heat loss. The existing oil furnace, 100,000 BTU input, probably around 80K output. A massive difference. So we started digging into the details. The first thing we checked was the existing system's runtime. We talked to the homeowner about how often the furnace ran on the coldest days. Turns out, even when it was 0 degrees outside, the furnace was cycling on and off pretty normally. It wasn't running continuously. That told us immediately that the existing system was oversized. If it's not running flat out on the coldest days, it's too big. That's a good sign that the Manual J might be in the right ballpark. Next, we looked at that old ductwork. It was an old system. It was undersized ducts, lots of leakage. We measured the return and found it was about 40% smaller than it should be. That restricted airflow created static pressure, which meant the furnace couldn't deliver its full capacity anyway. So even though the nameplate said 80K, the system was probably only delivering 55 to 60,000 BTUs to the living space. That's getting even closer to our Manual J number. Then, we started questioning our inputs. We went back up to the attic and actually pulled back some insulation to see what there really was. The homeowner thought they had R38 because someone told them that years ago. What we found was maybe R25 of settled cellulose and fiberglass that had been there since the house was built. We adjusted our manual J inputs to reflect actual conditions instead of assumed conditions. The new load calc came back at about 46,000 BTUs, which is much closer to reality. This is the process you need to follow with existing homes. You start with a manual J based on the available information. Then you reality check that number against the existing system's performance, the home's actual construction if you didn't already verify it, and any data you can gather from the homeowner about comfort and runtime. You're not throwing out the manual J. You're refining it with real-world observations. Here's another thing that trips people up: setback thermostats and then the resulting recovery load. Manual J calculates steady state heat loss. It assumes you're maintaining a constant temperature 24/7. But a lot of homeowners don't live that way. They set their thermostat back to 62 degrees at night and maybe even 60 degrees when they're at work. Then they crank it up to 70 or 72 when they get home. And that recovery period requires more capacity than the steady state calculation shows. If you size a system exactly to the manual J and the customer uses aggressive setbacks, they're going to complain that the house takes forever to warm up, if it ever does. Now, ACA doesn't want you adding capacity for recovery load. The official guidance is to size to the calculation and educate customers about realistic recovery times. That's the right answer from an engineering standpoint. But from a customer satisfaction standpoint, you need to have a conversation about how they use their thermostat. If they tell you they regularly set it back 8 to 10 degrees, then you need to explain that the recovery is going to take longer with a properly sized variable speed system, compared to the oversized single-stage dinosaur they're replacing. Set that expectation up front, or you're going to deal with complaints later on. Let me talk about the other end of the spectrum. Homes where the load calc comes out higher than the existing equipment. This happens too. I've seen it with several homes that had undersized equipment installed by a lazy contractor who just went by square footage. The homeowners have been suffering with inadequate cooling for years, particularly latent capacity, and they just assumed that's how it was supposed to be. They didn't realize their system was too small. I worked on a house in Wellesley a few years ago. It was built in 2015 and it had spray foam insulation, great windows, really tight construction. Their builder put in a 2-ton air conditioner for that 2,200 square foot house. 2 tons for 2,200 square feet sounds about right if you're using a rule of thumb for some new construction. But this house had massive wall of south-facing windows in the living room. It was a beautiful view, but had a ton of solar heat gain in the summer. Plus, an ERV that wasn't accounted for, which added some significant latent gains in the summertime. Our manual J came back at just over 32,000 BTUs for cooling, which is about 2.7 tons. The existing 2-ton unit was undersized by almost a full ton. The homeowner confirmed what the numbers were telling us too. Second floor bedrooms never got cool in the summer, the system ran constantly on hot days, and it still couldn't keep up. They'd been living with it because they didn't know any better. Once we explained the calculation and showed them why they needed more capacity, it all made sense. We upsized to a 3-ton system and reduced the fan speed to accommodate for the latent gains, and they were thrilled with the results. You see, that's the flip side of reality checking. Sometimes the existing system's too small, and the manual J reveals the problem. Your job is to explain why the numbers tell the story that they do. Now, let's talk about the stuff you can't easily measure. Occupancy, appliances, lifestyle. Manual J asks for the number of occupants and the heat gain from appliances and lighting. You enter default values based on number of bedrooms, right? Or you try to get specific information from the customer. But people's lives change. A house that used to have 5 people living in it now has 2 empty nesters. The kids' bedrooms are barely used and the basement rec room where teenagers used to hang out is empty. That changes the internal load and the system operation. Or you've got the opposite situation. A young family moves into the house that was previously owned by retirees. Now you've got 4 kids running around and every light is on. The TV's on, the gaming systems are on, the oven and stove are being used constantly. The internal heat gain is way higher than what the previous system may have been dealing with. The old calculation may not match current conditions. And this is why talking to the customer is so important. You need to understand how they actually live in the house. Are they home all day or gone 10 hours a day? Do they cook a lot or mostly eat out? How many people are actually living there? Do they run their fireplace regularly as a heat source? All of this affects the real load, and some of it won't show up in your manual J software. Here's the biggest mistake I see contractors make. They do a load calc, get a number that seems too low compared to the existing equipment, and then they just ignore the calculation and quote what's already there. That defeats the entire purpose. you're right back to guessing. The whole point of doing a load calc is to make an informed decision based on data. If you're not going to use the data, why waste time doing the calculation? Instead, what you should do is this. Do the manual J with the best of information available. Reality check it against existing system performance and home conditions. Then adjust your inputs if you find evidence that your assumptions were wrong. Then make a final decision around sizing that balances the calculated load with real-world observations and the customer's expectations. In most cases, you're going to end up within 10 to 20% of your manual J number. If your calculation says 45K and you decided to install a 50K because you know the house is leaky and the customer uses setbacks, that's a reasonable engineering judgment that fits within Manual S guidelines. You're not doubling the capacity. You're not ignoring the data. You're applying experience and context to refine the answer. But if your load calc says 45,000 BTUs and you want to install 90, just because that's what was there before, you're doing the customer a disservice. That system's going to short cycle. It's going to be inefficient. It's going to cost more to operate. It's going to wear out faster, all because you didn't trust the process. Let me give you one more scenario that comes up all the time. Renovations and improvements. You're quoting a new HVAC system for a home that's about to have new windows installed. Or the customer tells you that they're planning to add insulation next year. How do you account for that? Do you size for the current conditions or future conditions? This is where you need to have a detailed conversation with the customer about timeline and commitment. If they're going to get new windows installed next month and you're installing the HVAC system, let's say in 3 months, you should absolutely factor in the better windows. Get the specs, enter the U values and solar heat gain coefficient into your manual J, and use size for the improved conditions. But if they tell you they're thinking about adding insulation at some point in the future, don't size for that. Size for the current condition. People's plans change, budgets change, what they think they're going to do and what actually happens are two different things. You can't size a system based on theoretical future improvements that may never happen. The safe approach is to tell the customer this. Based on your home's current conditions, this is the system size you need. If you go ahead with the insulation upgrades, your system will be slightly oversized, but it'll run even more efficiently and you'll be more comfortable with this variable speed option. However, I can't size for improvements that haven't happened yet because if they don't happen, you'll be uncomfortable and the system won't perform right. See, that's honest, that's professional. And that protects you from callbacks if their plans fall through. So here's my bottom line on Manual J for existing homes. The calculation is the starting point, not the ending point. You need to do the calc to get a baseline number. Then you need to validate that number against reality. Look at the existing system's performance, investigate actual construction conditions where possible. Talk to the customer about how they live and what their expectations are. And then make a final sizing decision that reflects both the engineering and the real-world factors. Don't just blindly trust the software, but don't ignore it either. Use this as a tool to guide your professional judgment, not replace it. That's how you get sizing right. That's how you avoid callbacks. And that's how you build a reputation for installing systems that actually work the way that they're supposed to. To get a complete framework for implementing this into your business and evaluating every weak leak in your current process, watch the 15-point HVAC system design audit that shows you exactly where money's falling through the cracks. Thanks for joining me this week at HVAC Pro Blog, where we provide advice for residential system design, quality installation, and system diagnosis. I'll see you soon.